really, Nick Rekeita is a really great guy. He had a very good back and forth with Bronx Blogger, and it was pretty fantastic what came of it. But it was mostly that I really came out of it. Like, I kept thinking about, there are certain words. There's a phrase I put, it's stuck in my teeth like bread. Your words are like bread, they stick in my teeth. And so there's some people that they'll say things that just stick in my teeth. And so with Nick Rekeita, it was at one point, it was that whatever he was doing on his show, or whoever he had interviewed or been interviewed by, that he was getting some harassment from Bronx Blogger. And so he was saying to Bronx Blogger, he said, "I'm just a guy. I'm a guy with 5 kids who has a law firm, who runs his own law practice. I'm just a guy, Bronx." And Bronx, "Oh, I don't know about that." And what happened was, it hit me that, of course, on the right, people would be like, they would get what the idea here was. And I mean, everybody, it was obvious in that moment. You could hear it. The idea is, what is this dishonorable shit you are up to, you paused out commie? And that was the beautiful part about it, is it really caused Bronx to come across as this person who, this was what started to hit me, was as I started to try to describe precisely what we were seeing. We were seeing fundamentally where it was but comrade, you speak with the enemy. And that is why the term allies is used in social justice. That is why there's not countrymen. Under law, people are your fellow citizens, or your countrymen, things like that. The reason why is because, like a fellow Freemason, like a fellow Master Mason, everybody on the level, you are all being judged by the same laws. Once you are in the cultus, that you understand the set of rules. And really, in the U.S. constitutional system, the way when we naturalize people, you actually have to understand a number of events. So you have to understand history. You have to, now, so that, as Jay Dyer, now we have our anthropology. That once you have a history to the cultus, and you could say, this is what happened in the past. This is why we have the rights, the rules, the system that we have. Do you join us or not? And in joining, you then are under that system of rules, and hopefully the stories and rights of the cultists then pull you deeper and deeper in. This is why it's like our country, being artificial, had to be based on a system like Freemasonry. And it was because it was tied into, it was one of the only things that a lot of the leaders of the founding groups had in common. Especially after the English Civil War, because there were colonists that sided with different sides of the English Civil War. And so post that, it was very important over here to that lodge system was inclusive of different groups, and that especially being that our lodge system started as clandestine. George Washington was a member of a clandestine lodge. Technically, he was irregular. His lodge was irregular. Jefferson's wasn't, but Washington's was, if I remember correctly. The Boston Tea Party is a Boston lodge. But that, so we are a society that, a secret society, realized there was no way out of the fact that we had to bind groups together, or their descendants would never be free. Bronx Blogger will have no descendants. All this thing, I have ideological offspring, and it's like, yeah, right, yeah, so you poop, okay, or something, I guess. And you know, somebody like Nick Rekeita is a real human being. You know, he's a fully formed real human. And in the American tradition, he's like he's one of the oldest types of humans in our cultus as Americans. A man who has a home law practice and feeds multiple children. He has had replacement plus plus. That is normal. That is incredibly normal in the United States of America since we were colonies. Where Bronx Blogger is a freako. A freako from the freako days, from Clown World days. So then it becomes this thing, I'm just a guy. Oh, I don't know about that. No, you're not one of the allies, comrade. That's what this is. It's about that term allies. It always fucks with me, always did fuck with me. And I wasn't fucking around with that shit anymore. You know, by the time I started to hear that term allies, like I was done. By 2013, I was done. I was like, no. Now that I'm understanding who these people, the feminists, really are, because I'd never actually heard quotes from these historical feminists to know, obviously, then what their philosophical and political ideology really is. What happened was, by the time stuff like allies started popping up, I'm like, what a weird word. I'm like, that is like so socialist. And I thought it was kind of just funny. And then more and more, it started to really, I started to really think about, this is very odd that they insist on using this term. They really love this. Because allies aren't friends. They are not friends. They aren't countrymen. They are not community members. This is actually the thing that hit me. Yes, of course, the homosexual commies. They're obviously, and then I started to really think about, wait, so let me think about really very clearly what terms they insist on using. Who are they? Now I remember, yes, we can from Barack Obama, and why that bothered me, because Jonah Goldberg said something about it. I'm like, Jonah, I don't like you, and that makes a lot of sense, because it clicked in my mind because of Eric Hoffer, the writer of The True Believer, which all liberals of a certain generation had been familiarized with. Or at least in some way, shape, or form knew about, if they knew about their kind of armchair philosophy books. That Eric Hoffer, because he's been quoted multiple times, and just, even the alt-right has brought him up. And I forget who it was. It might have been Nowicki or one of those people. Because it was unexpected. It wasn't unexpected. I was like, oh, you read The True Believer. That makes sense, because you seem to know a lot about Bolshevism and various events around the Spanish Civil War. So you would have been. It would make sense. You'd be familiar with this. I swear. Oh my God! I do. Somebody had mentioned that. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful. And I'm taking my shoes off. Okay, now I get what you're talking about. Yes, I'm Mr. Robinson. Who is it? Okay. No. Hold on, children. Let me see who's at the door. Who is it? Okay. So people like Bronx Blogger using this term allies, this idea of, why do you have to have allies? Well, you have to have allies between the marginalized. So these people, they're all disunited in the margins, and there's this block of unity in the center. It's white power and supremacy, and all the minorities and women who are fooled. They're beguiled by its power. They want to be near the fire rather than in the shadows. They want to be warm where there's, and the white men will let them near the precious Promethean fire. So much of this stuff, I'm sitting there going, once I start taking these images, what their terms are, trying to apply them in some way to an allegory of some sort. I'm like, no, I get why I was there, and I get why they're even crazier than when I was on the left. Why they're even bat shittier than when I was on the left. and also why they're so immensely prideful and retarded. Like that, this self-conceit that is just unreal. No capacity for self-effacement left on the left and toward the center. Even honestly, just so I could put it out there, CPAC kind of makes me think that the Republicans, honestly, the Republicans are getting that smell again. Aren't they getting that smell again? You're like, what is that? I smell shit. They're like, what are you talking about? Aw, shit doesn't stink, though. Aren't you getting that feeling? As long as we fight communism, and it's just like, oh my God. Who said build the wall? Who started the build the wall chant? Where was that? Where was Sheriff Wesley Clark? Because there's all these people I didn't see who are the kind of people who that the left are physically fucking afraid of, and I didn't hear about any of them taking the microphone. But I digress. Allies aren't going to be good enough for them. This is all it comes down to. Allies are not going to be good enough. This is now, CPAC made me understand it. All the right can do is lose. That's all we can do. That's the only thing that can happen now on the right end of politics, on the traditionalist end of politics. Catholics, don't fall for the party. Do your thing on your own. Really, every Catholic who hears this, please. When I get this feeling in my gut, it's always paid. Get together outside of the church. You can't technically be in the Knights of Columbus Lodge. You can't be in the church. You can't be at the Legio. Can't be at the Legio meetings discussing this. I know there's probably I probably don't have anyone from the Legio watching this. So you need to talk to your community like this, like the old days. So what do you think about this? What do you think about this person running for senator? Do you really think he's a good Christian or not? No. You got to lean in. This is the lean in point. This is the real lean in, because you're Catholics. That's what you are. We're the kind of people who do a lot of this. You know what I mean? Hey, it's been a long time since I see you. Hey, come here. What are you talking about? Come over here. It's been too long. Catholics are those kind of people. And so there's got to be a warm honesty. I think they're going to kill us. I think they're trying to wipe us out. And we need to fight back. And the men, you need to talk about it like that. Do you not see it could be over for us? Where are our grandkids going to be christened? Will there be a church? Will we have to sell our churches? Sell our churches to Protestant denominations that will open them up with rainbow flags on them? Complete and total defeat. Complete and total defeat. It could be, and it could be quite easily. So, a group like the Catholics, that would be an example of what needs to be done now. Where the right needs to start. You and I, we don't talk a lot. I think sometimes our friends don't get along. I don't got a problem with you. What do you think about? What do you think about this? Because this is the feeling I'm getting. We want our kids to inherit something. What do you think about this? Because it doesn't feel right to me. And if nothing else, we're Americans, we're Christians, and for a lot of you white guys, you're like, I'm looking out for me, my kith, and my kin. People like me, because people who are not like me are not looking out for me and people who are like me. And that's fine, because black people think this too. Every group of people really thinks that. It is just bullshitters like Bronx Blogger who live in the world of allegiances. We are allies, yes, comrade. We will destroy every group of people we're a part of. And like a lot of the Asian community, Asian capitalists, hey, check this out. What do you guys think? Come. Ah. La la la. La la la. What do you think about all these loudmouth gay Asian chicks? They're like hot, gay, and loud. I see them. I've seen them. There were not that many around before, but boy, did they start popping up in the last few years. They're not some quiet, good little Asian girl. They're not keeping their mouth shut anymore. What do you guys think about that? Because making sure your daughter isn't a whore early makes her a valuable wife later. And this was well understood growing up around Chinese kids, Korean girls, Filipinos, that they knew if you keep these kids in the house as much as possible, you keep them away from the world, by the time they're adults, it'll be way better for them. Now, some of you boys, it's a different thing. I know people stereotype Asian guys. Americans don't understand what tough Asian guys are. Most American guys don't think there's such a thing as tough, hardcore, down and dirty Asians. And I know different. I know way different than that. So I got served up by some. I know different. So, well, what are you going to do about that? No, the gangs aren't like they were in the 90s when Hong Kong got turned back. Things changed, but now, I mean, things are good. But now these girls are they're getting mouthy and crazy and full of feminism. They want to vote Democratic all the time. They for some reason, they just think the money grows on a money tree. It's like right now, your community, like third, fourth generation, you're making some good change. But that's how long is that going to last? And then what are these loudmouth hoes saying about all the times all the hot guai do home invasions, rob your stores, trying to intimidate you? They do. You all just aren't talking about it. You're even having seats taken away from you in college to give to the hot guai. So, the allies, the Baizuo, they love their pets. They don't love you Asians. What are you going to do? And Republicans don't have any problems with you. And also, they are desperately afraid that if we fuck this up, there'll be a massacre of the Christians in China. That who knows what will happen to Christianity in East Asia if we don't play the next 5 to 10 years extremely carefully. Extremely carefully. Because this will be held over. Because the communists will do anything. Because the Christians in their countries are not their allies. They are enemies, comrade. Enemies in their midst. And that we have all these goddamn communists over here who are trying to basically meddle with communities to make them work against one another. literally behaving as if there's only so much hamburger left and the dogs have to fight each other for it. Because that is how socialists really think of normal people, like dogs. Dogs that can be used. That is why you're nothing more than an ally to them. You are not a countryman. You will never be a countryman to Bronx Blogger. He will never use such a term. Such a term is masculine. And it's patriarchal. Country. Oh my God. Some backwards thing. If... There are a lot of you guys don't even like each other. But for you to say countryman to me means a lot. Means a lot. Tears me up. Just the word tears me up. My countrymen. That's bitter. It's bigger. It's bigger. It's a bigger thing than what these people have with their allegiances. The allegiance of the marginalized. There's plotters. Plotters. That's what they are. Cowain and plotters. Yeah. Saboteurs. Yet to be past their orders. Just some thoughts. Godspeed, Rekeita.